Hey crew, I've got the key to that Rolls-Royce Cullinan. We are going to take it for a drive, but first let's check out how it looks on the inside and outside. The only real changes for 22 are going to be some color options, including this one, Saint Tropez. It's a pretty loud orange, especially in the sun. We have our Spirit of Ecstasy, of course, Pantheon grille, LED headlights and daytime running lights. In profile is a set of 21-inch wheels, wrapped in Continental winter tires. See the Rolls-Royce emblem staying always upright in the center of the wheel. The air suspension is in its normal height, but it can raise up an additional 1.5 inches in off-road mode. The Cullinan is a big vehicle, 17.5 feet long, about the same length as a Cadillac Escalade. At the back, we see the glass taper down into a small shelf to kind of create symmetry with the other Rolls-Royce 3-box designs for this 2-box SUV. There are LED taillights and dual chrome exhaust finishers. The exterior, well, it's stately, but that orange, well, not really for me. Let's check out the interior. Opening up the coach doors from the center, can't miss the umbrella within the door, and looking inside at this black on Mandarin orange accented leather interior. Perforations for the inserts, the leather quality is exceptional, and there's leather everywhere, all over the door panels. Matte wood trim here, Rolls-Royce emblem embossed there. Walking on in. To close up that door, we've got a door button on the pillar. Sitting behind my own seat at 6 feet tall, I've got tons of knee room. Good foot pockets to stretch out. I can fully stretch out my legs, in fact, and the headroom is generous. I'm also resting my head on these comfy leather pillows. There's an armrest that comes down with cup holders in here. Grain leather around the real metal air vents. Seat heating, dual zone climate control. Rear entertainment screens pop out. Yeah, this is luxury elite in the back seat. To close up the rear doors, just put your finger on the indent for a moment, and it will take care of the rest. Soft close style. Up front are heated, ventilated, and massaging seats. There's a metal tread plate, snow on the floor mats, a little trigger joystick to control the power folding door mirrors. Press down on this tab to open up the clamshell trunk. You get a tailgate for picnicking. 21 cubic feet of space back here. That does expand if you press down these tabs to fold down the seats. There's an all-leather cover. A power close and lock feature on the trunk. Stepping inside. To close up these front doors, press the buttons under the rim of the dashboard. There's a digital instrument cluster with metal borders to the gauges, a head-up display, more Mandarin orange accents. Below that is grained leather surrounding the analog clock, and the 10-inch touchscreen infotainment with wireless Apple CarPlay. More grain leather here in the center, physical volume knob, and climate control settings. More of that matte wood trim. Spirit of Ecstasy controller as a redundancy to touching the screen. Wireless smartphone charging in there. Looking around the cabin, visibility is actually pretty good out the back. You do have some thicker D-pillars, but standard blind spot monitoring. Everything in this cabin, everything you touch is the finest quality. But how's it drive? Let's find out. All right, let's fire it up. The prodigious Powertrain, upon startup, barely even shimmies this massive SUV. Pull up on the stalk to go into reverse. That brings up a surround view camera system. You also have several different angles to choose from, looking around the whole vehicle. And then there's a parking assist feature. To go into drive, pull down on the stalk. And we will, of course, begin with a turning radius test. Extremely succinct turning radius, thanks to the rear wheel steering system, which pivots the rear wheels in the opposite direction at low speeds. How about a horn test? If that isn't royalty coming through, I don't know what that sound would be. Like my Ghost POV drive review, this will be on the mellower end of things. Not quite as much talking as normal. But as much appreciation for cabin solitude as possible. And for scenery, goodness. Up here in the Sawtooth Mountains in Idaho. Same engine as that Ghost, 6.75 liter twin-turbocharged V12, making 563 horsepower and 627 pound-feet of torque, connected to an 8-speed automatic gearbox and sending power to a permanent all-wheel drive system. The power delivery is just so velvety. So easy to modulate these brakes as well. That Rolls-Royce driving experience has to be smooth, so that means the way you get up to speed and the way you scrub speed needs to be smooth as well, and that's what we've got here. And it's interesting having just climbed out of that Ghost. To compare the seating position in this Cullinan, it's just you have a greater command of the road. It feels even easier to place this vehicle. It's not quite as long as the Ghost without the 3-box design. And I just feel like I can have a sense of the perimeters better than being in the Ghost and trying to look out and over it. The suspension is so good here. The 4-corner air suspension, adaptive dampers, that magic carpet ride. I hear so little from the tires as well. It's about the loudest impact I've heard so far on a not great road here. You can see the grit of the road surface, but you feel none of it. And when you do get an impact, it's something you hear more than something you feel. The feeling is a pat on the leg. Through some of these corners, I would appreciate a bit of extra lateral bolstering in the seats because I'm just kind of oozing over the sides. But darn, are they comfortable. It doesn't surprise me, given that we are sitting so much higher off the ground. But the cabin insulation, the wind noise that I'm hearing is higher, more pronounced than in that Ghost, which you really could barely hear the wind. Here you hear it a little bit. It's still far and away the quietest SUV you can buy. That bump back there that we actually heard, and I almost kind of felt through the chassis. In any other car, I would have had to tense up for and prepare for the impact. In this one, it's just, what? We hit it, you felt something, but we move on. I do feel like we should see how the Rolls-Royce Cullinan and its traction and stability control systems handle low traction situations. So we'll kick it over to a demonstration of those. All right, now we're in the passenger seat of a Cullinan with Ken driving, and he's going to talk us through some of the different settings for off-roading.
So with this Cullinan, we have the off-road button. You press the off button, then you have options for off-road dynamic stability control off, off-road plus traction, or off-road dynamic stability control on. So we're going to do a few laps around our little circuit here, and we're going to first start with the dynamic stability control off and the off-road mode off. So we have very few electronic traction aids helping us. They don't turn them off completely, just in case someone were to bump the button. So they're alive, they're awake, but they're not as awake they are when you press the button.
Got it.
So easier to break traction. And that's a lot of corrective steering and left foot braking.
Yeah. Fun, certainly.
It's fun, yeah.
But probably disconcerting to someone who isn't anticipating it.
Absolutely. So now we're going to change the game here. We're going to take the fun out of it for the young ones. Right? So we engage.
Hit the off-road button.
Now we're going to go up to off-road dynamic stability control on. So now we've got everything woken up in the vehicle. It's going to be looking for corners that are breaking traction. It's going to reappropriate drive to the corners that have the most traction. It's not going to let us break traction from the start. So it detunes the throttle.
Yeah, that got off the line really well.
Yeah, it didn't break traction at all. And now we're floored, same amount of throttle as before. That's the response we get. So it's infinitely looking for the tires that have the most amount of traction and applying drive to those tires while detuning drive to the tires that are breaking traction.
Okay, and it is a brake-based kind of torque vectoring thing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. Exactly. Again, we'll do it with dynamic stability control on. a little bit there. We were pushing.
Yeah, but that was the safer bet in that situation than it oversteering.
Well, then having the back end come around, then you got a corrective steer, and then a lot of people that aren't familiar with those type of situations oversteer.
Got it.
Or understeer, and then it just kind of sends them the directions they don't want to go.
So then can we contrast that once more to it, either off or there was like one more setting, right?
Yep. So now this is traction off.
But stability on.
Yes.
Got it.
A little different, a little more control.
I think that was my favorite one. Honestly, that felt like the perfect bowl of porridge, if you will.
Right. As the driver, I was actually driving as opposed to correcting or with everything on, not really driving. I mean, driving, but not really driving.
That was cool. It's been humming along so blissfully in the background, but we do need to see what this twin-turbo V12 can do. So I'm putting in low drive mode, and I'm going to put my foot down. It can do quite a lot. The nose just sort of lifts up and the vehicle takes off. It also sounds pretty good. From nothing to sweet melody. This 8-speed transmission is very accommodating as well. Quickly downshifts, gets you into the meat of the power band, and then the upshifts are smooth and fluid. What an engine. Tell you what, I'm going to miss the V12s when Rolls-Royce makes the full transition to all electric by 2030. Okay, one more. And as we wrap up our drive in the 22 Rolls-Royce Cullinan, I'll give you some pricing information. We can talk about competition very briefly, and then I'll wrap it up. The starting figure for this vehicle is $336,000. With all the options here on this one, it's $428,000. The starting price is at least $88,000 over the next closest competitor, the Bentley Bentayga W12. It's over double the starting figure of the Land Rover Range Rover Autobiography and the Mercedes Maybach GLS. It makes more power than everything except for the Bentayga W12, and it is far and away the best riding and quietest SUV in the segment. Is it the best looking? No. I think that the Range Rover has that one. Bentayga in the close second. I do think it looks better than the Maybach. But the customization potential, the feeling of every surface, every detail in this cabin, and then of course that magic carpet ride quality, kind of make it worth the price if you have this level of money. If you don't, you'll be satisfied with those other vehicles. This just, in this environment in particular, and knowing that it's going to be capable in all terrain situations, even off-road, you don't need a Range Rover anymore, plus your Ghost. You can have your Cullinan too. Hope you guys have enjoyed this POV drive review. If you did, please like, comment, and share the video. Subscribe to the channel, hit that bell to get notified. And I'll see you next time.